Donald Trump threatened to jail election officials over his demented voter fraud lies, and he was asked a very simple question about childcare that showed just how broken his brain is. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. If you follow politics at all, you may have noticed a familiar ritual that plays out every few weeks or so. Donald Trump says something insane or incoherent or wildly offensive about crowd sizes or fallen soldiers or Hannibal Lecter or the price of bacon going up because the wind doesn't blow or shark attacks that are caused by electric boat batteries that sink in the ocean and electrocute people unless they swim away from the battery toward the shark because sharks are attracted to electricity just like Hannibal Lecter is attracted to human flesh like it's bacon blowing in the wind. Anyway, that's all real stuff he said. He's running for he's tied in the polls, and that's all real stuff he said in real life. And by the way, new polling says that 28% of likely voters need to hear more about where Kamala Harris stands on the issues, and that's fair, and she should address that. But if you're wondering what her opinion on wind vis-a-vis the price of bacon is, she doesn't have one. Nobody has one but him. Anyway, the ritual is this. Trump's sundowning mush brain belches out a series of unintelligible noises, and then Republicans go on TV and they just plead with him. Focus on policy.
What's your one best piece of advice for you for the Trump campaign?
Keep the debate focused on policy.
I think President Trump needs to stay focused on his policy.
You've got to make this race not on personalities. Stop questioning the size of her crowds and start questioning her position.
President Trump can win this election. His policies are good for America, and if you have a policy debate for president, he wins. Donald Trump, the provocateur, the showman, may not win this election.
Donald Trump, the showman, may not win this election, but that doesn't mean he can't still take me to vaudeville for our two-man comedy routine. I sit in his lap dressed like a ventriloquist dummy, and I say stuff like, hey, Donald, stick to the issues. Then he says, shut up, dummy, and don't forget, you need me more than I need you, and if you don't get a line, you'll be out on your ass without a pot to piss in. And the audience, they just laugh and laugh. There's no way you guys actually believe what you're saying, right? I mean, Donald Trump can't focus on policy. He'd have an easier time doing one of Simone Biles' signature moves. Okay, let's see here. Round off, onto the takeoff board, followed by a back handspring with a half turn, onto the table, into a double twisting somersault in a stretch position. Okay, I think I got it, and here we go. Oh, God, I pretzeled myself. Trump can't focus on policy because he can't focus, period, and he has no policies. Case in point, during an appearance at the Economic Club of New York last week, he was asked a very simple question about childcare. This is obviously a super important issue for all those regular working-class families in swing states that pundits are always obsessing over, and considering how Republicans claim they're the party of both the working class and families, you'd think Trump could at least feign a coherent answer. See if you can follow whatever the hell he's talking about here. And I should note, this is a long clip, but I think it's important to play the whole thing.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue, but I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare.
And guys, I have some really bad news. That was only half the clip. We still have a whole other minute left. It's so meandering and incoherent and mind-numbing, we just had to take an intermission so our brains could recover. Just to really hit home how insane that was, I'm gonna read the transcript. Again, see if you can make heads or tails of any of this. I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because childcare is childcare, it's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations, at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. And those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare. What numbers? You keep saying the word numbers like you're an undercover cop and it's your safe word. How about those numbers? You run the numbers? We love numbers, numbers, numbers. They're on to me. Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Also, I have to go back. Can we just go back and flag this part?
I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare.
Childcare is childcare. Wow, dude, nailed it. I mean, guess I wouldn't blink twice if I saw that as a sticker on a Volvo in Brooklyn, but he's a presidential candidate. Anyway, strap on your oxygen masks because we're gonna keep going and play the second half of that answer, which again, to remind you, was supposed to be about childcare.
Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
What are you people clapping for? This is how low the bar is for Trump. He could streak naked across the stage, covered in baby oil, screaming Baba Booey, then trip and fall headfirst into a garbage can, stand up, run into a wall, fart, and pass out. But if he says, make America great again, when he comes to, they'll all clap and say, well, you know what? This is a new Trump. This is... Also, it's very funny to give that kind of rambling, incoherent answer and then finish with, very good question. That was a very good question, and you can tell because it threw me for a loop, didn't it? I mean, what did I even say, you guys? I was waiting for one of you to cut me off, and then I remembered it wasn't a debate, and I was like, oh, buckle up, everybody. I mean, what a good question, and you all just had to sit here for it the whole time. You know, I know I shouldn't say this, but at one point I blacked out, and when I came to, I opened my eyes, true story, and I was floating over the stage, and I looked down, I could see myself still answering the question. And I thought, well, I can't be dead because I'm down there, but like, what in the world is going on right now? Good question. But in spite of what you just saw with your own eyes, most of the mainstream media chooses instead to inhabit an alternate universe where Trump is a normal candidate with a normal brain saying normal words. A headline from the Associated Press said, Trump suggests tariffs can help solve rising childcare costs in major economic speech. And here's how Fox News described Trump's performance.
It's a different Donald Trump when he's speaking to this Economic Club of New York. It's not a rally. It was very policy-oriented. And I think that this version will do well if we see it on Tuesday night, if we see this version of the former president in terms of explaining to people. Some of these ideas are difficult to break down.
He gave an impassioned defense of free market policies. I was impressed.
What impressed you more? How many times he said the word numbers without giving an actual number, or the sentence childcare is childcare? Seriously, what were you guys watching? The words that came out of his mouth did not form any discernible human sentence structure. You get a more coherent answer from Siri after you put your phone in a blender. Hey, Siri, how can we make childcare more affordable?
I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, you get numbers compared to numbers which are bigger than any numbers related to numbers, including numbers, because childcare is childcare is childcare is childcare.
Pretty impressive. Now, the good news is the same guy who can't answer a straightforward question about childcare without his brain exploding is very clear-headed when it comes to his policy on jailing election workers for completely made-up voter fraud claims. Over the weekend, he wrote this on social media: "When I win, those people that cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. Please beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corrupt election officials." And in another post, he wrote, "An interview by Tucker Carlson of an election expert indicates that 20% of the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania are fraudulent. Here we go again." Oh my God, you got your proof from Tucker Carlson, the guy who just interviewed a Holocaust revisionist, and when he was called out on it, had this super chill response?
"I can't believe you platformed him." Platformed? You mean talk to him? It's like, okay.
You know what? They're right. Kamala Harris does have a weird laugh. But that Tucker Carlson, the one who flew all the way to Russia to sniff bread, got fired from Fox News for being too racist and famously said he wanted a piece of candy, sounds solid to me. Also, to be clear, Tucker did not say explicitly he wanted to have sex with Candy. He just lamented that Candy cartoon characters weren't allowed to be hot and wear stilettos anymore. Which sounds to me like he wanted a piece of candy. Just like a weird thing to have an opinion on. But it's not fair. I'm bringing this up out of nowhere. Let's go back to Trump Post. Who was this expert Tucker interviewed anyway? Yowza! Tucker and the green M&M together at last. Woo! Now that's a video that's gonna do
numbers.
Trump is only clear-headed about one thing: overturning democracy. He has no idea how to improve the lives of working families and doesn't care. He talks about policies like their ice cream sizes at Cold Stone. There's like it, love it, and
have to have it.
This has been A Closer Look.